So welcome everybody to Friday afternoon here in the UK and another episode of Level Up. It's episode 171 today. 60 minutes, of course, of live Q&A where your questions really do drive the show. Ella is working hard today over in the social chat. So please introduce yourself to her. Let her know your name and, of course, the city from where you're joining. That's super helpful. She's going to post some links into the chat. In fact, I can see her already doing that for you to be able to vote up the questions that you would most like the panel to answer. And of course, for you to be able to add your own as well. If your question is selected, then your name is going to appear quite rightly in the credits at the end of the show. So do get those questions in early and stay with us to see all of that happening. Today, we are continuing to build out our production, of course, and we're going to be continuing to use our electronic hand raise throughout the show. So do watch for that little symbol kind of coming up and appearing. It will appear next to the panelists' shoulders, just like that. All right. So do watch out for that throughout the show, and that will give you a visual indication of who is electing to answer which questions. Now, 6 years ago, Bill Gates famously argued that the robot that in the future would take your job should pay your taxes, and that governments could actually use that money by taxing robots to better fund education programs and training for people, to refocus us on our human traits around things like creativity, empathy, curiosity, innovation, and so on, which our current education system, one could argue around the world, tends to kind of squish out of people as we try and cram more and more facts into people's brains. Now, as AI gathers pace around the world, from generative models to predictive analytics, there are huge opportunities, of course, for us to be able to improve our personal productivity by embracing the new technology. And I'm really pleased that today we've got a fantastic panel lined up to help guide us through some of this journey. So let's jump straight in and meet them all. First of all, Jasbir Kooner. She joined us. She's the Director of Cybersecurity at Englobe Corporation, where she heads up their AI journey, having spent time in her career in both technology world and the business world as well. She completed an MBA and is passionate about building meaningful business relationships and is currently recognized as one of the top business relationship managers in the world in 2023. So welcome to Level Up, Jasbir. Lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's my first Level Up, so I'm really excited to be here. And what a great topic. At Englobe, we are currently starting our AI journey. So I'm very passionate about this next hour with everyone here.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be hoping to learn as much from you as you're going to learn from us, and of course the audience as well as we go through. Sarbjoit joins us. He's come back to us again from sunny Singapore, I'm hoping, on a Friday. He's the owner, of course, and the managing director at Cyberservices, where he focuses on helping his clients adopt leading practice in the management and use of data and security and the services that go alongside all of that. And a key contributor, I think it's fair to say, across the last 2 years of Level Up. Welcome back, Sarbjoit. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Nick. Well, Sarbjoit could not make it, so I am replacing him today as his AI. No, thank you so much. That was just a scaring thing, but I think panelists will not be ever replaced by AI, because AI don't know how to make fun, and we are here to have fun. So thank you, Nick, for giving me the opportunity, and looking forward to a great time with all you there in the panel. And all our listeners, please let the questions flow so we can have a good Friday.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you, Sarbjoit, for that. I might come back to you on that and see if we can't upgrade me in the future with a generative AI model. We'll see. Ashish Garg also joins us. Ashish, of course, is general manager over at HCL Technologies, where he's led complex global implementations of software as a service, CRM, a whole range of different technologies. He's an expert in digital transformation, and he's able to conceptualize with his team how technology solutions really can deliver value and solve complex problems. So Ashish, welcome back to Level Up. Great to see you, my friend. Oh, we can't hear you, Ashish. So it might be a mute problem or it might be a technical problem. Have another try. Okay, I think we've got an audio gremlin with us at the moment, so we'll come back to you in a few moments. Llyod Skinner, he joins us. He's the CEO over at greyfly.ai, where they focus on delivering project intelligence through using advanced predictive analytics to inform decisions on projects and programs with real-time data-driven dashboards and tools to engage people like stakeholders and manage and mitigate risks and so on throughout a project or a program lifecycle. He's passionate, I think it's fair to say, about how to deliver additional value into projects. And I also think it's fair to say that he personally is really at the leading edge of research into how to use AI in a project context and the differences that it can make. Llyod, welcome to Level Up. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Nick, and great to be here. I think that was a bit of a mouthful. I think the headline is how to use AI to increase project success. I think that's where I'm coming from. 4 years into this journey now as well. So it's been a story of ups and downs, but certainly it's gathering a pace. So thank you very much for having me.
All right. Okay. No problem at all. Thank you for simplifying it as well. Yeah, I agree with that. Helmut rejoined us. You may remember from a few weeks ago, Helmut Steigele, Dr. Steigele, really, I should address him formally, is the lead coach with CascadeIT, where he focuses on enterprise transformation, bringing the new normal into reality off the drawing board, I suppose. He's an award-winning coach in his own rights. And of course, he holds a doctorate in economics and social sciences. Welcome back, Helmut. Lovely to see you again.
Oh, hello to the whole audience from Switzerland. Thanks for having all those compliments from the UK. Happy to hear new insights. Happy to bring in maybe some thoughts on my side. Introducing myself, me started with weak signals recognition and early risk management steps along the bow tie methodology 10, 15 years ago. Actually, we fix, we recognize, and we stabilize organizations in that way that we use artificial intelligence mechanisms and risk recognition and fraud mechanisms to bring them one step forward, because the environment is quite a little bit more volatile than 15 years ago. So that's it. That's what we do.
Excellent.
Open
okay.
to answer.
Thank you so much indeed. And Ashish, I'm hearing that we may have fixed your audio challenge. So welcome back to Level Up.
Thank you so much, Nick, and excited to be back again. Interesting topic, and hoping to add value to the questions that people ask and help them learn more about implementation of automation and AI.
All right, excellent. Very good. Now then, in a change to the billing, we've got a change in question master for today. So I'm delighted to welcome Nigel onto the screen as our QM for today. He's joining us from Cape Town, right down at the bottom of the African continent, where, of course, a Cape Town winter's day is probably warmer than an English summer's day, actually, Nigel. I'm not too sure. Are you freezing down there, or is it warm and toasty?
Sadly, we are freezing, Nick, but it's been pretty chilly down here. We've had a very, very cold, wet winter, I can assure you. But it's great to be in this role for a change. And normally I'm on the other side of the camera or in Nick's position. So it's nice to see a different side of things. Very interesting.
Right.
Looking forward to today's topic.
Brilliant. Okay, well, very good. Thank you so much. Now, I think it's fair to say, I'm just looking over at the social chat. So welcome, everybody, if you're joining us online. We're going to come to you in a few moments. We'll do our first question, if we may, and then we'll come to see who's actually joined us as our producers online this afternoon. So, Nigel, and if we're ready, panel, let's jump straight in. We'll take our first question, please.
Excellent, sure. Our first question is from Linda Peters, and Linda asks, how does automation relate to AI?
Okay, Jasbir, why don't you start us off on this, please?
Thanks so much, Nick. Great question, Linda. Yeah, I think it's the perfect question to start off with today. So from my end, the way that I look at it is automation is a set of predefined steps, rules that we want, let's say, a robot to take. Whereas when it comes to AI, it's more about decisions that we want the robot to make. So if we're just looking at it from a robot aspect, the automation would be the robot's hands, and the AI part would be the robot's brain. So now a robot in regular terms knows to pick up something from one side, put it to another, and it's just doing that. Once you add AI to it, it's going to say, oh, maybe I don't need to go just sideways. I need to put this one level higher. And that's where automation and AI relate.
It's a really good point, isn't it? Because, the intelligence bit of AI is something that we often don't think about quite as strongly as perhaps we ought to. We're kind of so much focused on the speed at which something can answer it. We almost look at the robotic element first rather than actually the intelligence element. So yeah, really well put. I love that. So thank you. I've just made a note of that idea about the AI being the brain and so on, and the automation being the robot. So excellent. Thank you very much, Jasbir, for starting us off. Ashish, your thoughts, please, and then we'll hear from Sarbjoit.
Sure. And I think kind of correlate with what Jasbir was saying. So essentially, automation was the first step. What is the first step? And then once you've done that, you kind of take it to the next level where you start feeding information and you are tracking and seeing how the bot is performing or whatever is being processed. And then you are training the brain to take the next level of intelligent decisions. So as opposed to kind of trying to wait and build all of it together, you are probably first trying to implement automation through a bot, and then making it more and more intelligent to be able to do some of the decision making as well. So it's an extension and a step up, so to say.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Totally agree with that. Sarbjoit, your thoughts? How does automation relate to artificial intelligence?
All right, thanks. Well, I will try to bring it a bit back. Automation has been there for a long time as we have embarked a journey into, application systems and computers. Now, currently, what we are doing is automating our business processes, and this is the core at the heart of digital transformation. So, what we are doing is just not automating just in a silos. We are making automations in a big way, and then we want to make our automations also take their own course of decision. So we need to make a machine learning model from the data sets that we are getting, and then make that machine, that robot, whatever we are doing for automation, to be more self-learning and self-intelligent in decision-making, and that's where the relation comes. So AI is a next level of automation with, as Jasbir said, with the brains there.
Okay, thank you so much indeed, Sarbjoit. Llyod, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, for me, it's an interesting question, and what was going through my mind is it's almost cyclical. So is automation part of AI, or is AI part of automation? And hopefully that makes sense in terms of what I'm trying to get there and builds on, I think, what the other panelists say. So I think, what came first? Did you start with the automation and then apply AI to it to make it more intelligent, or did you start with the AI and then add automation to it? So certainly in my world, I'm now adding into automation, if that makes sense to others.
No, it does. It really does. I mean, I think that, what I see as the correlation, if we can go to panel view, what I see as a correlation between these two things is that increasingly when you look to try and improve your productivity, you want to reach out to some sort of value add, if you like. And sometimes something which is a really good process, you can just automate that and that's immediately value added. Other times, you actually need a little bit of help because the amount of data that we're collecting is vast. So you need almost an extension to your human ability to be able to at least do the first cut or, reduce it down to a more manageable, kind of sample. Helmut, your thoughts on this, please.
I compare this question with the common learning mechanisms or intelligence mechanisms we human beings have at all. So I'm referring to Alan Turing that way, that each human being is normally observing, looking for patterns and correlations, and then he learns and improves. And that's the same with artificial intelligence and automation. Because on artificial intelligence, you capture information, you capture data, you analyze for clusters, you analyze for correlations, you find your regression. And afterwards, you have a baseline for guided learning. And exactly that guided learning brings you up to the next level where you improve and where you find out how to reproduce what you have done before and how you can improve what you will do after. So artificial intelligence and automation is the same, like building reflexes within a human being. The only difference is that the sensor in IT is a sensor, where else we human beings act with ears, with eyes, with our human sensorics. So I do not compare artificial intelligence with human intelligence. I look that they correspond to the criteria of the Turing test.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Helmut. Very good. Now then, let's jump over online then and see how we're doing. Orbin joins us from the city of Benin. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. And also we have Simi joining us from Gaborone in Botswana. And as a first-time viewer, so thank you very much indeed, Simi, for joining us today. Really great to have you as part of our producers and shaping the direction of travel of the event. Ganesh is joining us from India. It'd be really good to know which city you're in, Ganesh. That would be fantastic. So do let us know in the chat. And Victoria is joining us, Victoria Alowu there from Bristol in the United Kingdom, around about 80 miles or so west of where I am in the Thames Valley. So thank you very much indeed, Victoria, for joining. Excellent. Okay, well, let's move on. We can see lots of questions stacking up for the panel. So Nigel, if we can, let's take our next question, please.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, sure. So Adobe's next question is, how can businesses prepare for the future impact of automation and AI?
Lloyd, an excellent question this from Adobe. Why don't you start us off on your thinking? How should we be preparing?
Well, thank you for this, and it, for me, it is an excellent question, and one that's really close to my heart. Actually, something that we feel the pain for all the time. I personally see it sort of splitting into two types of answer. One a more technical answer, and one more of a human side answer. So for example, on the technical side, there's all the obvious stuff like data and data readiness, and have you got the data? Is it good quality data? And then if you're trying to build out a platform, what's your infrastructure? Can you plug into it? Can you grab the data out of it? Can you use that data? And can you build the technology out? So for me, there's a whole load of technical questions, but actually, increasingly so, I think we can overcome those technical questions. I think the humanistic side is really important me, and the human side I sort of split into where being a project person, you need a sponsor, you need some executive cover to make sure that things can move forward. But then you start going into getting your staff ready. Do they need to be trained? Do they need to be made aware? How do you bring them on a journey? So from my point of view, I would run any implementation like a project and a transformation project, not just a technical element. So people and technology from my point of view.
It's really important. Both of those go hand in hand, don't they? If you're going to prepare a business, for any future opportunity or indeed, risk. Thank you so much indeed, Llyod. Ashish, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Jasbir.
Sure. I think I'll just add another dimension to what Llyod said. That's the process side of it. So whenever an organization is trying to move towards transformation, right, which could be digital or they're trying to adapt a new technology, I think technology is the engine that kind of keeps fueling. So you could go in either direction. So you can choose what technology do you want to go. But I think the first step when you move towards digital transformation is that you need to see whether your businesses are ready. Do you have the right kind of processes in place? So before you embark on a journey and you have a consultant come over and say, this is the technology that I want to sell, you should also look at, from a process perspective, have somebody come to your organization or do it yourself, where you look at your processes, see if they are standard, do they follow the same, cycle through one geography to another, and is there consistency in terms of what you are doing? I think technology can only be as good as your processes are. So the entire foundation of any digital transformation, in my mind, I feel is really your core business, which is your process. Once you have that, you can choose any technology and move to the next level.
It's certainly true, isn't it? And I think something that Llyod was saying earlier on. Just having stuff isn't enough. You need to have good stuff. Yeah. And use that kind of technical term. So if your processes are random and difficult and awkward, then I would start in a much simpler way, and start thinking about, can you optimize those first before you go down, too far down the journey of digital transformation? Because it's very easy to automate yourself into an awful mess. You just arrive at a bigger mess more quickly if you're not very careful. So really, really important to get the quality of processes and the quality of the data that's supporting the decisioning right from day one. Jasbir, your thoughts on this, please. Then we'll hear from Helmut.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nick. So for myself, when I read the question, we're talking about future impact. In order to really understand what an impact is going to be, you have to understand what is this, and you have to gain knowledge about it. So AI, automation, this is a journey. Every company is going to go down this path in a different way, depending on their industry or where they're at today. I actually read a great book. It's called The Business Case for AI by Kavita Ganisan. And she actually said 80% of all AI projects are estimated to fail. And the reason for this is because there's a disconnect between what AI is at leadership level and what the reality is at implementation level. So until we don't close that gap, we're not really going to understand, from an impact level. You could see what the impacts are externally. We read about it in articles. This is happening to this company. This is happening to that company. But in order for you to really get a good impact of what's going to happen at my company when I implement X, Y, Z, right? Knowledge is important, and closing that gap and really having leadership and the implementation to really be aligned. And the other aspect is from the culture. You need to ensure that everyone that's going to be affected by this change is on board and they want the change. And I know a lot of fear is associated every time we're talking about automation and AI. And for myself, I look at it from a different level. There's so many tasks that I'm doing today that are taking up so much of my time that can be automated, right? And imagine if like 80% of my automation that I'm doing myself can be done by a machine now. It's going to allow me so much more time for innovation and creativity. So that's kind of the direction that it's more humanistic that I'm looking at it, but I think it all starts from a human aspect, and then we need to look at it from the tech aspect.
Jasbir, I think you're absolutely right. Okay, this automation allows us to be a better human, and there are certain aspects of that human condition that we can excel at. And it frees up some time for us to get the coaching that we need. Great athletes achieve greatness by having a coach. And they put into practice what the coach recommends to them. And they improve their technique, and they improve, and they practice, and they practice, and they practice until they become the very best that they can possibly be. And in business, we spend an awful lot of time, don't we, doing the mundane. If we can automate the mundane, then we can free up time to improve our practice at those humanistic type aspects. So really interesting, and completely agree with you. Helmut, your final thoughts on this one, please.
I've got exactly that question 2.5 years ago, the same style. And my answer there was, if you want to prepare as business for the future and the impact of automation and AI, look, where's your company embedded in which ecosystem? How are consumers acting actually today? How do they solve their problems actually? How do they use technology? And what can be the changes in preference and in behavior if they would use, or if you would use, specific elements of artificial intelligence or automation within your business value chain? Because there's always an interaction between you as a company and your market and your employees and your environment. And if you do not anticipate all those weak signals, what changes if you use technology or others use technology in the ecosystem you are embedded in, there's always a low degree of preparation. That's the first step. The second step is always check the readiness of your organization, of your process, and of your technology to capture the consequences of artificial intelligence usage or automation in the organization or outside. If you do not combine the weak signals analysis on change on preferences and compare it with the impact on your organizational flows and your readiness, you're always struggling in each iteration. That's it.
Thank you very much indeed. And I agree with you. I think it is an iterative process to go through. Jasbir mentioned earlier that, about starting this journey, and it is a journey, and for each of us, as we look to our organizations, keep remaining curious is one of the best ways, I think, that you can prepare for the future, because you can then start to follow other organizations and use opportunities like the Level Up community to be able to ask questions of each other and get some, from the heart answers. I just want to jump over to our social team who are on LinkedIn and on YouTube today. It's really great to see you all. It's kind of getting very busy over there in the social chat. So thank you very much for joining. Abraham, brilliant to see you joining again today from Tanzania. Excellent to have you on board with us. So thank you for joining. And James is joining from the wonderful city of Lagos in Nigeria. So thank you very much, James. Always really good food, actually, in Lagos, if you're ever able to visit. Some fantastic food available there. And Syed, of course, welcome back, my friend, from Perth in Western Australia. So thank you for giving us some of your Friday night now, I think, actually, for you. So thank you for doing that. Now, producers, do put in some questions, please, to the panel. This is your opportunity to, when are you next going to be in the company of 5 AI experts? All right. So it's a great opportunity for you to ask the questions that you want to ask. Nuruddin, brilliant to have you joining us from Nazarewa in Nigeria. Excellent to have you as part of our producers. Do get those questions in early, folks. All right. Talking about that, let's move on. Nigel, we'll take our next question for the panel, please.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the next question is from Deepak. And Deepak asks, can the panel provide some examples of successful automation in businesses?
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to start us off on this one while the panel have a little bit of a think. Here at APMG, we have thousands of people taking certifications with us every day. Over 150 countries around the world every week, somebody sits down and takes an examination with us. So we'd like to try and keep as personal a contact and as personal a touch and as human a touch as possible, but we can't manage without automation. So one of the things that I would suggest is over 30 years, APMG is 30 years old this year, actually. We're celebrating that very soon, come September. We've built up some processes that are quite lean in their nature, but we do automate some of that stuff. And that gives you the chance, wherever you are in the world, to schedule your examination at a time which is convenient for you. And most of that is self-service and most of that is automated. But if something doesn't quite work out, then a human being is available to help you out and troubleshoot and fix whatever it is. So that's kind of my experience of it. Let's go to Sarbjoit next, and then we'll hear from Ashish.
Well, thank you, Deepak. It's a wonderful question. Well, today's world, anything that you see is happening around, and people are doing digital transformation left, right, and center, especially since the coronavirus or COVID-19 virus attack and all this thing happening, is about automating processes, business processes, because we want to make a business more productive, more lean, and more effective and efficient. So we need to make things faster, better, and cheaper. So to do that, there are a lot of places that AI or automation has been used today. If you see, when we talk about application development, a lot of testing has been automated. And it is, when we talk about automated testing, we talk about any kind of application development, system testing, security testing, all has been automated. Now, business processes in as respect of, if we look into customer service, we have a lot of automations. Today, if you look at cloud, anything in cloud is self-service and automation. So everywhere we look around, we will see automations are there in every places. As just Nick was mentioning about the exam from APMG. Now, if you visit most of the web portals today for companies who are providing some service, they will always have some automated, service desk or AIs, we can call it, those who will come and try to help you to answer and try to solve your issue or to guide you to the right team to get support. So automation is there. But one thing, if we automate processes which are not optimized, we will be in greater mess than we are now. So be aware and automate.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much indeed, Sarbjoit. Ashish, and then we'll hear from Jasbir.
Sure. So I think today, if we look around, like Sarbjoit was saying, I think everywhere you have automation, and a great example would be, for example, all the work that we do in the financial sector as a personal individual in the banks, right? So if you move on to the bank, I remember 20 years back, you had to personally visit a bank to open a bank account. Today, you don't have to. You can do that on your phone. An excellent example of how automation has completely changed. And not just opening a bank account, but even complex stuff. You want to transfer money, you want to change how you're using your credit card. Do you want to use your credit card within the country, outside the country? You want to restrict the usage of the card in terms of the value of expenses that you're doing on the e-commerce site. All of it is automated. So I think the banking industry or financial institutions have really adopted automation to a great extent, and have made a positive impact. Probably they were the first ones to kind of move in that direction. And if I kind of think of it, Citibank probably, if I remember correctly, was one of the biggest pioneers from an India perspective. Definitely, they went to just having one center in a complete city as opposed to several other banks who were at that point of time, wanting to expand and create their own centers. So that's the kind of change that the financial institutions have brought in, where you're not looking for a retail outlet anymore. You're trying to move towards as much of an automation and self-service option. So yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely right, and I think increasingly now we've moved away from the awkwardness of the early automation, where the human being felt disenfranchised by poor coding. I can make it that way. To now, my most secure device, I think, is my online banking by mobile, by my phone, because it uses biometric data to allow me access to the device. It secures the transactions really, really well. And my bank is encouraging me not to use a browser, but actually to use a mobile app. So it kind of makes complete sense to me. So thank you very much indeed. Some really great examples there. Jasbir, your thoughts on this? And then we'll hear from Helmut.
Thanks so much, Nick. So Ashish and Sarbjoit have given really cool examples of automation. And I'm going to go the uncool route here. So working in retail for the last 15 years, just seeing what changes that were done with automation at a warehouse level to be able to provide customers, with stuff that they've ordered within hours or a day. So just looking at Amazon and Walmart, and myself, I've worked with suppliers that have been partnering with Walmart. What they've been able to do at the warehouse level with automation has been mind-blowing, just to be able to see. And as we see the rise of consumerism, and after COVID, so many individuals have been ordering online. None of that would have been possible if it was not for automation at that level. So for myself, I think that's a great example, because we take it so much for granted now, right? So we go, we click, we put it in a cart, and we're like, oh, we're going to get this in a couple hours. I'm going to track it. But we don't realize that if we only relied on humans to be able to do this, it may take a couple weeks, not a couple days, right? So that's where, just going back, I just think from a retail aspect, the warehouse and what they've been able to automate there has really, it's been a game changer.
I completely agree with you. All of that is a true marvel if you think about it just for a moment, and from the computer models that were built to organize items in that warehouse that people commonly buy together so that they're in close proximity, so that you can get certain items in some city centers within an hour of randomly selecting them on a website. Goodness me, that is absolutely incredible, and a really good example, I think, of where automation adds real value, especially if you've left that power cord for your laptop at home and you're about to give the keynote presentation at a conference. Saved me a couple of times. Helmut, your final thoughts on this one, please. Thank you, Jasbir.
That's only a lucky punch on my side, because here in Switzerland, we had exactly one example on practical automation in the medical area. You shall know that we Swiss guys are suffering in a lack on medics. We have much more patients than medics in the hospital, and those medics are always locked in their creativity and their diagnosis because of administrational tasks, because of insurance tasks, because of onboarding patient tasks, where they all shall give their sign-offs. So large hospitals in the eastern area of Switzerland have decided to use their artificial intelligence and robotic process automation to relieve those medics from the administrational tasks, and giving them more potential and giving them more time for finding a proper diagnosis and for finding a proper therapy. And this project worked quite very, very well, because it was linked with the so-called electronic patient file, which will be the upcoming standard here in Switzerland if you are going to a hospital. So we have the chain between data, between process, and between automation to bring up new intellectual power and capacity into therapy, into research, and even, of course, in diagnosis.
Absolutely. And, I think those key skills are in short demand around the world. It takes many years to train medical practitioners, whatever their core discipline absolutely, might be. And so, using them to be administrators, I do understand it, but I do also agree with you. I think that there's opportunities there to lighten that side of their workload and perhaps help them to add more value to more patients on the other side. So really great. So thank you very much indeed, panel. What a great question from Deepak. It sounded simple at first, didn't it? But actually it took us on a journey from examinations of one kind to examinations of an entirely different nature. So thank you very much indeed, panel. Let's move on, Nigel, if we can, and we'll take our next question, please.
Sure, Nick. So our next question is from Orban, and he asks, how might the implementation of automation and AI in developing countries positively impact social and professional aspects of life?
Well, it's a brilliant question, Orban. Thank you so much for asking it. The one thing that I've noticed about countries who are now jumping into technology is that you don't have the legacy of those countries that entered early into the Industrial Revolution first. We have a legacy that we're carrying with us of physical infrastructure, of the non-digital processes, if you like, that we need to carry through. Whereas actually you can skip generations of technology and jump right in. Ashish, you work with a lot of different people around the world. What are your thoughts on this?
So I think, Nick, it's an interesting question, right? Not just about some of the bigger places where you see automation and transformation, but this is actually talking about social aspect as well and social impact. I think one area where this has really made an impact and has the potential to do better is the space of education, right? Because traditionally we've always thought of education happening in a room, right, where you kind of bring in the teachers, you bring in the students together. But we've seen that some of the developing countries may not really have that kind of an infrastructure where you can get students together, or you can have teachers and good qualified teachers, right, visit those education centers and impart training. And that's where automation and AI has kind of started to bring in a change, because people are looking at devices and you don't really need to have too much of bandwidth, but these are very simple applications that sit on your mobile phone and you can actually see through and learn from it. And how you respond to questions, the AI piece takes over and kind of keeps throwing you either a step up or a step down depending on your responses. So education is kind of getting personalized without a facilitator, but at the same time you're able to kind of get the concepts and take your knowledge to the next level without so much of human intervention per se. So I think education is a good space where we would probably see more and more impact from a social perspective.
Thank you very much indeed. Llyod, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Helmut.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And Nick, can I just say I really echo your point about benefiting from the lack of legacy, if you like. It does help you accelerate. And Ashish's point about education as well. Actually, from my perspective, I was going to go wider still. So here in the UK, there's about, as of yesterday, actually, they published the largest projects in the UK. There's 244 mega projects by the Infrastructure Project Authority in the UK. And those are all of the public sector projects. And every single one of those projects, as you can imagine, has a social or an added value or a soft benefit associated with it. So within those 244, there will be, 10 or 15 to do with education. There might be another 20 to do with the health sector, and transport, and dare I say, even the Ministry of Defence as well. But every single one of those projects is being tasked with having a positive impact over and above just the efficiency and the cost savings associated with it. So from my perspective, I'm going really wide on this answer, which is, how big do you want it to be, as it were? So get on with those projects.
Completely agree with that. And one thing that I would say as well is that this links in with the role of the World Bank and the multilateral development banks in providing funding for things like public-private partnerships. There are development goals which are clearly defined by the UN, and the securing of funding from the bond markets in order to be able to fund either critical national infrastructure or refrigerated supply chain or service-led PPPs around healthcare, education, services in general, and so on. These things all link together, and automation can help, together with AI, can help you figure out where are you going to position those healthcare workers? Where are you going to put the centres for education in the future where they're going to make the biggest difference? So it's really worthwhile thinking about that and thinking about how it could enhance bids for things like PPP and funding and so on. Excellent. Thank you so much indeed, Llyod. Really good points. Helmut, briefly, and then we'll hear from Sarbjoit.
The answer is quite simple. When I remember to the times when I traveled the very, very first time, the People's Republic of China, 25 years ago, when they introduced their cell phone technology and mobile communications technology, you can imagine exactly what the impact was there. They have rushed up the communication. They have rushed up the problem solution there. They have mobilized the people there, and that will be the same effect you will have now in the developing countries, because we have there some form of greenfield approach where they enter directly at maturity level 1 and 2 without any legacy behind, and then they change immediately and quite very, very hungry towards the new possibilities of solving problems. And this will improve, of course, if guided their situation. But you have to consider, don't translate Western thinking into those areas, because the conditions of using technology there is definitely another one like here in Europe or in the US or wherever.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much. Sarbjoit, final thoughts on this, and then we'll move on.
Right. Thanks so much. Now, sorry, being a professional educationist as well, so I have some different thoughts in education and automation. But in interest of time, what I want to say is when we bring in automation into education in the adult learning section, then it is really something that is a phenomenon and is happening across the globe. In case of children education, I think we need to have a better strategy before we can do this thing. And for social impact, I would say that, when it comes to all the social services where human interaction may enhance the cost. So in those places, automation can be much better and then interactive, inputs from people or from different sources using devices which are very cheap today. And we know that mobile phones has penetrated into many developing countries like India, China, and many places. Today you have, I think, as good as many Indians are there, that many or maybe more than them, mobile phones are there. So that is a good thing. And that the automation is helping the people. Not only that, if you see that the retail center, people selling vegetables on the roadside are using automation and payments. So that is a wonderful thing that has happened. And looking forward to a lot of more things coming up from Africa and many other developing nations. So that will be an awesome day that I'm looking forward to.
I completely agree with that. It was many years ago now, actually, more than 5 years ago, that I was in Kenya and I was able to buy fruit at a market using a mobile phone. That was the preferred method of purchasing fruit and vegetables at the market rather than using cash. And that really struck me in contrast with the United Kingdom, with my country. If you go to the market, you have to have cash, generally speaking, or at least that was the case 5 years ago. It may well have changed now. All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. What a brilliant question, Orbin. Thank you so much. I think we might need an entire episode, though, to be able to explore that fully. Okay. But at least we've given it our best shot. All right. Very good. Now, Nigel, I think time is against us. I think we've probably got time for one more question for the panel.
Yeah, unfortunately, time is against us. But let's take our last question then. So this question is from Tanvir. And Tanvir asks, how are leaders addressing the issue of job redundancy caused by automation and AI?
Hey, all right. Excellent question. Jasbir, why don't you start us off?
Thanks so much. Great question, Tanvir. And to start off with, just want to address that technology. If we look at it from historically, it's always created more jobs than it's taken. We've always looked at the fear aspect of jobs are, being taken away. There's actually new jobs that are being created. Now, if we just look at ChatGPT, that alone, that ChatGPT is only as great as the prompt. And in the future, we're going to see jobs that are more like, what was it, prompt engineer, I had read an article about. And there's going to be these really cool new options that are coming out. So as leaders, I think focusing on reskilling as well as upskilling your current team. And then how can you redesign a job? So which part of it's going to be automated that an AI assistant is going to help with, and which part of it is actually the employee that's going to be working on? And there's going to be a factor of continuous learning. I know a lot of my friends that I went to school with, some of them just stopped learning for 15 years, right? And that's not going to be the future. The future is going to be always continuous learning. Jobs are going to be changing. AI is going to be evolving, and tech. And I think one of the focuses that we need to really focus on as leaders is we're implementing AI into our businesses, but not everyone's thinking about the ethics of AI. So I think in the next 5 years, we're going to have to kind of take a step back and say, all right, we have all this AI implemented. How is ethics involved? And you're going to need a core group within your business that's looking at that and saying, how do we put an ecosystem around this? And are we, ethically good with our company on what we're providing through AI?
I mean, there's so much value, Jasbir, in that. I really, really do. It's a brilliant answer. Thank you so much. Because, in there, just to kind of share with you, as definitely somebody that lived the majority of their life in the analog era, a prompt engineer was somebody who turned up on time. Now, in the digital era, in the era of AI, the prompt engineer means something entirely different. It's fantastic. So I completely agree with that. So excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Really, really brilliant. Sarbjoit, your thoughts, please. Then we'll go to Llyod.
Yes, Tanvi is a very good question, and Jasbir has given a wonderful aspect to it about the ethics in AI. Now, what I would, in answering Tanvi's question, I would say, as leaders, we should not only say that yes, jobs may be, I wouldn't say it's redundant, but thing is the jobs will evolve. Now, where there is a commodity kind of a practice, where people are doing repetitive activities, those kind of jobs will be lesser, but there will be new roles coming up where people will need to reskill, upskill themselves and get into the new roles. Like, we can have a new job practice of AI ethics. So it can happen. And then there may be more other kind of things where we will go more into consultancy, Nick. So we need to ask more questions and learn how to ask questions, because the robots will be asking questions. They will be solving our problem. That's what they're going to do. And we have to build them, guide them, and keep on asking questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarbjoit. I think you're absolutely right. Llyod, let's hear your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Helmut.
Yeah, I suppose from my perspective, I'm going to be slightly more direct. I think there's going to be some winners and losers. So already in the UK, we're seeing some large announcements where, I don't know, is AI being blamed for swathes of redundancies or certainly lack of growth. So I really think some roles will disappear, and as the other panel members said, some new roles will appear. And generally, from my perspective, it's about making sure that you are set up to embrace the technology. So how do you use technology to do your job smarter, more rapidly, quicker, but perhaps, like we said, it allows you to do more creative type things. So in project management world, things like decision making, influencing becomes a lot more important. Change management becomes a lot more important. But some roles will definitely be displaced. In terms of how I see it from senior executives, I think what I'm seeing is, can we do more for less? So in my world is, can we do more projects for the same amount of money? So sorry, people, I'm being slightly more harsh. There will be winners and losers.
Yeah, I think that you are absolutely right in that summary. So thank you very much indeed, Llyod. Let's go to Helmut briefly and then Ashish.
I can answer only under the aspect of the Swiss and German economy. Here we have more the lack of qualified people, and therefore the leaders here work very, very strong with skill planning, capability mapping, and role profiling in their organizations to keep the heads, but changing the skills which are covering all those tasks. So there's an analysis along all their enterprise capabilities, what can be done in the future by AI, by robots, by automation, or maybe by IT, because we have to develop our people towards new qualifications, towards new talent, towards new activities, and even towards new patterns of solving specific problems. I refer here, we train them here to ask questions, to run later on artificial intelligence, because asking questions is a basic principle for leading learning or guided learning within AI. So we keep the people, but we reskill them, and we think what can be done by the machine, because demographics is killing us, our economy.
Thank you so much indeed. And final thoughts, Ashish?
No, I think I echo the comments. So not really anything much to add, but probably I'll kind of lean towards what Llyod said, a little bit more harsh. Yeah, so there'll be winners and losers, but leaders need to empathize. I think that's the key thing, right? So leaders need to recognize that the change is inevitable, and they have to prepare their organizations, the larger people, to kind of adapt and help them to move in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much indeed. Completely agree with that. There have been some pilot projects in different countries looking at the effect of, say, is it time? When the economy was agricultural, people worked every day. And when we became an industrial economy, then they worked 6 days a week, and then 5.5 days a week, and then 5 days a week. Is it now time for certain economies in the knowledge economy to move to 4 days a week and to use that other amount of time in more beneficial ways for humankind? We'll wait and see. So very good. Thank you so much to our audience today. Amazing questions from everybody. It is quite incredible, really. So let's get the closing remarks from the panel. Ashish, I'll come to you first, and then we'll hear from Sarbjoit.
Sure. It was an amazing session, and I think with so many people on the panel, you get so many different views and perspectives. So absolutely enjoyed the session. Thank you, Nick, for having me over.
Okay, thank you so much indeed for joining us, Sarbjoit, and then Helmut.
Thank you for the audience. Thank you for the questions. Learned much, then I was able to contribute. Will join the next time. Very, very keen to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Helmut. Really appreciate it. Sarbjoit, your thoughts, please.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And well, it was really a very enjoying time for me as I shared my thoughts and also learned a few things from our new panelist, and as well as our the listeners who had put up wonderful questions. So looking forward to more such sessions, and I think we need one more session on this AI and automation.
I think we might come back to it. No, I kind of feel that way. Jasbir, your closing remarks for today, and then we'll hear from Llyod.
It's been such a great hour with all of the panelists and everyone that's been watching us. And I just wanted to suggest 2 books if anyone is interested. There's The Age of Invisible Machines, where they talk about hyper automation, which is a word that I think for anyone that's here today, we really need to start to use it and apply it. So that book is by Rob Wilson and Josh Tyson. And the other book is the one that I had mentioned earlier, the Business Case for AI. And that's by Kavita Ganisan. Thank you so much, everyone. I had an amazing time.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Jasbir. A brilliant contribution to the discussion today. So thank you so much. Llyod, your closing remarks, please.
Yeah, obviously, thank you, everybody. I think the hour has literally shot by, so that says something in its own right. My final thoughts were for the audience, really, which is try and embrace technology. Try and make it part of upskilling yourself and differentiating yourself for the future. So don't be scared of it. Embrace it. It's coming no matter what.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. Nigel, quite an interesting set of questions that we had today, from the small scale to the how are our futures going to be affected and impacted. Your reflections on today's event?
Yeah, just a fantastic show, everybody. Really wonderful answers from the panelists and some great live questions from the audience as usual. And I think this is such a relevant topic at the moment. It's at the forefront of everybody's minds. I think there are a lot of concerns. There are a lot of people that are looking at this as a great opportunity. So I think really good topic. We need to revisit this in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. On behalf of the panel, I want to thank everybody who's been online today for your great questions and your commentary throughout. Thank you very much indeed. To Ella, who's been coordinating all of the social chat. Very well done. Heavy lifting at one point, Ella, and kind of multitasking. I'm imagining you almost like an octopus with lots of different keyboards, all going all at the same time. So thank you very much indeed for doing that. And of course, on behalf of our audience, to the panel, thank you so much for giving so generously of your time. So now let's look a little bit further ahead. Over on our website, of course, on apmginternational.com, you can search for the answers to all of the previously asked questions. There's more than 2,000 of them now, from hundreds of experts all around the world. So do jump over there and have a quick look. And of course, you can listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Just search for APMG International, Level Up Your Career. Now, coming up next on Level Up on Monday the 23rd, 8 a.m. UK time, we're going to be looking at why certifications matter so much when you're trying to build your career, before focusing on the world of how to become a business analyst on Friday the 28th at 2 p.m. The last show in July is all about writing better business cases, so do join us for that on the 31st. We are actually, to give you a little bit of a further ahead view, gearing up to celebrate our 2nd anniversary on Level Up, and that will be on the 18th of August is the closest show to that. So do head over to our YouTube channel. Please give us a like on the video. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really does help promote the content to other people around the world. And do subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell, and it will give you the alerts and the reminders that you need to join us for that 2nd anniversary episode. Subscribe to the show, and we'll, of course, send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.